This is the 12th recording and intro to mobile development. On the half semester system, this would be week 5 going in week 6. So what we're going to take a look at in this recording is storyboarding. So why do we want to storyboard? This is something I wish I had done more in my own app before I actually started writing the app. Don't underestimate the importance of storyboarding. So why do we want to storyboard? It's a good way for us to communicate with both technical and non-technical users. So it's a way of prototyping our application and making sure we're doing what we want to do. So it's a good idea to kind of do a walkthrough, a quick and dirty walkthrough, and say, is this what you want? That's good because number one, you're making sure that you're spending time on high priority tasks. Many times I'll work with someone and say, well, we can do this, this, and this. Is that what you want? And the answer I get is, oh, yeah, I want that. Or, I've done this and I see that this doesn't work. Is that the problem you're seeing? Oh, yeah, that's the problem I'm seeing. If you can show the user a nice working application, I mean, not a working application, but a nice prototype of the application, you can get through that kind of prioritization and make sure you're working on what is most important to the user and what's going to make money for the user. Next thing is we want to see where we can share screens. And again, this is something that I wish I'd done a bit more of on Plain Places Mobile before I sat down and used it. This is the advanced search screen where we can type a name, pick a color, bloom date, category of plant, features, so on and so forth, and then hit search. This one screen is used in 4 different flows throughout Plant Places Mobile. So I really need to think, do I want to write this screen one time or do I want to write it 4 times? It's going to be a lot easier if I write it only one time because then I have a smaller application to maintain, a smaller footprint to maintain, and a lot less work that I need to do. So save time, reduce unneeded work. Okay. Another thing we'll want to do with a storyboard is see our click depth. How deep do we need to go to get the user where the user wants to go? Obviously, the shorter we can make that, the easier. So the shorter the path, the better. In the early days of the web, many times to get to something important, you'd have to click through many, many different things to finally get what you wanted. The early days of the web weren't very organized. It tended to be a list of links that would take you to more links and take you to more links. So with a good prototype, we can kind of get a story together of where our users are going in the application. Okay. And then, of course, measure twice, cut once, as the old adage goes. When I wrote Plant Places, as I mentioned, I didn't really storyboard like I should have. And I before you deploy an app, one of the quality metrics is you should put as little in the app as you need to have it working. In other words, don't put in screens that are never being used. Don't put in source code and images that are not being used. When you package up that app for deployment, make sure it's as concise as it needs to be, as concise as it can be. Because again, remember, we're dealing with a lot smaller footprint on the phone. The onboard memory, both the RAM and the physical storage, is a lot smaller than we would have on something like a laptop or a desktop computer. So we need to be aware of that. Now, when I was about to deploy Plant Places Mobile, I went through and took out all the screens I was not using. And I found that about 40% of the screens that I had written at one time, I completely removed. So that was wasted work. I spent a lot of time on screens, like on an open image screen and things like that, and on some color selection screens that I never even used. A good storyboard would help me to prioritize and realize that, you know what, I don't really need this screen. I don't need it. I can maybe do things another way. So how do we storyboard? What we'll need is any kind of application that has allows us to add UI components and have some hyperlinks. There are lots of good options. You could certainly use PowerPoint or any of the other presentation software. If I take PowerPoint, if I highlight, what I can do is I can make a hyperlink out of this and I can link to another screen. Okay, so place within this document. I could link this to the first slide. There we go. Choose OK. Okay. Now when I control and click, or when I go into presentation mode, which is Shift F5, I might need to move the recording just a second. There we go. Now when I click, you see this is going to navigate me back to the first slide. So that concept of hyperlinks, let me move the recording again. Okay. The concept of hyperlinks is something we can certainly do in PowerPoint. Another option is if you just have a normal old HTML editor, like this one here is Microsoft's Expression Web. Whoops, sorry. Okay, this one here is Microsoft's Expression Web. I could say File and then New, like a page or an HTML. Okay. And a lot of people some people like to do HTML by hand. That's fine. A lot of people use generator tools like this. That's fine as well. I tend to do most of mine by hand, but there are definitely times I like using the generator tools as well. So with this, with Expression, we can, let me see if I can fit this all on one screen. We could easily do a mock-up with Expression. We have our form controls over here, so we have things like our checkbox we were talking about last time, and I could say editable. Okay, I could drop another checkbox. Native. Okay, and what do we say? Recommended. I drop another checkbox over here. Okay, there we go. I could save this. Okay, I'll give it a second to save. I'll just call this, let's see, there we go. We'll call this storyboard. Okay. Now I can have buttons. I can easily drag and drop buttons. And indeed, I can add hyperlinks as well. So I can type some text here, highlight, right-click and choose hyperlink. And then I can link to, say, any other page that I want. So each page here would essentially be a screen. So you see we can use all the UI components and then control click and we can go to here's the screen that I've written previously. But nonetheless, Expression Web or any other HTML editor is a perfectly good option for creating your storyboard, which is the next assignment, which is due in our class. It's due on Monday. I believe that would be the 29th of July. The nice thing about Expression Web, as opposed to using something like PowerPoint, is it has a lot of these UI components that we'll see in just about any mobile app. So I've already shown you here on Plain Places Mobile, we have text field, we have an advanced thing like a calendar selection. And then we also have, whoops, sorry, click that again. Then we also have our checkboxes, and we have drop down, or as we call it in Android, we'd call this a spinner actually, but it's essentially a drop down box. And we also have radio buttons. So each of these we will see on Expression Web, which makes that a good tool as opposed to PowerPoint. You could do this, it'd just be a bit trickier on PowerPoint, that's all. Now, if we look at something like a Cordova app, it's going to have a lot of these same UI components as well. So GPS a plant, here's a button I can click on, and we see, this screen could use some things to make it a bit more pretty, but nonetheless, we have the same concept of labels and text boxes, just like we would have on our Android phone. So these UI components that we see will be pretty similar from device to device. Okay, and here again on the, I'll tell you, I really like the way they did this. The being able to pick a photo from a photo library like this, that's pretty well organized. I kind of like that. So there we go. Here we have an image and we have buttons. So this is a Cordova instance as opposed to the Android instance that I've been showing most of the time, but we see both of them are going to have this similar concept of UI components. So, okay. Now, one other tool I want to show you that, to be honest, I just started using this and like this quite a bit. And this is FluidUI. So, if you go to fluidui.com, uh, you can create a new project. If I were doing a storyboard, this is the way I would go. You see, what's nice about Fluid UI is we can see things like really nice screen mockups and also navigation so we can see click depth. Really interesting. Really interesting stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what I've created so far, and then we will spend a little bit more time creating some more screens. What's nice about Fluid UI is this is specifically meant for storyboarding mobile apps, so it has a lot of the UI controls that are used on a mobile app. So it has a lot of those UI controls, and it has a lot of the same screen real estate restrictions we're going to have on a mobile app. And it does a really nice job of playing. So up at the top of Fluid UI, there's this little play button here. Once you've put your screens together, you can play through and watch what happens as you interact with the app. Of all the tools I've mentioned so far, I'd say this is by far my favorite, and you can create one storyboard for free as a trial. A lot of good options for this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And here's some other cool things. Like I said, this site really impresses me. They have a QR code here where you can scan that and test it right on your device. You can also email, export, or link. To export, you have to have an upgraded account with them. Be a good idea, but nonetheless, you can actually export it as HTML or as a set of images. You can also email it. That's a good option. So you could if you choose this route, what you can do is you can email it to me. Just use my UC address, brandan.jones@uc.edu, brandan.jones. Email the mockup. I'll take a look. I'll take a look, see how it looks, and that's what I'll use for your assignment. But needless to say, right now it's playing, and so watch what happens. You see, I think that's a pretty good real life size screen of a mobile device. And this I designed to look a lot like the Plant Places mobile, the front screen. So I have a lot of options. I didn't put them all on here, but I did put a few. Enter bloom dates and plants for sale. And you see it comes up with this screen. We have a select a plant button. So for enter bloom dates and plants for sale, what you can do is you can pick a plant using the advanced search, and then you can enter the time when it was in bloom. Or you can pick a plant using advanced search, and you can say where it is for sale and how much it costs, how many they have, things like that. So this is so we'll have the button to take us to advanced search right here, and then we might have something like a calendar view here. Then as we choose back, that'll take us back to the main menu. Okay, GPS a plant. Let's look at this option. I click on that. And again, it comes up with a screen that I've pretty much put together that looks a lot like the real Plant Places mobile GPS screen. So here we go. That's the advanced search, of course. But you see we have toggle GPS, a button to toggle it on and off. Okay, it looks like I have a little extra text widget back there I need to take off. But a toggle or refresh GPS button. And option 2, select a plant. And again, that's going to take us back to the advanced search screen. A place we can put in a description, then we can save it to the phone, upload it, take a new photo, whatever we want to do. So there we have some. Of course, I'll hit back here. There we have several screen mock-ups. Finally, we have search by color. So you see here, I have this concept where you can take a new photo or open an existing image, and then the photo will appear here. And then here we have the grid of the different colors. Okay, so this is like the color selection screen. So take a new photo, open existing image, it'll come up here, and then it will give us our collection of colors it found in that photo here. Then we can pick one. And as we pick one, it will go to the list of results. Okay, it will go to the list of plants that match that color. Then we can choose one from that list, and it will take us to the plantplaces.com website that shows us details on that item. So you see, we're able to mock up here all the different flows through the app, and we're able to activate the buttons so that we can get the user's experience through the app. And that does a really nice job of giving us a map of what our app looks like and all the different navigation paths. So that's something I always had in my head for Plant Places Mobile, but I never really had it written down where I could describe it to the user. I like this quite a bit. So, what I want to do with you now is I have not finished this. I have not put in the advanced search screen. So, what I want to do now is go ahead and put together an advanced search and show you how to use FluidUI. But first, a quick reminder on your storyboarding assignment, which is due. And as I said, you're free to use any of the tools that I've mentioned. Okay, you're free to use any of the tools that I've mentioned, or any other tool as long as it gives you these options that we saw today in like Fluid UI or Expression Web. For me, one moment. For me, I would probably use Fluid UI. Okay, so design and storyboard. First, design your app. Consider the app design strategies from Apple. List all the features your users might like. Determine who your users are. And then filter the feature list through the audience. Create a definition statement. So that's what I want for part one. Part two, storyboard. Use Fluid UI, PowerPoint, hyperlinks, HTML, or a similar tool. Show and title the screens on your app. So both have the screens and have titles for them. Place UI elements on the screens. Show the connections or the navigation from screen to screen. And then develop an app icon. I'm not looking for anything super complicated, but just an icon that you could use kind of like the icon that the user will see on his or her phone. User can tap that, get into your application from there. So what do I mean by an icon? For Plant Places, it's the stylized P that we'll see on the Play Store. So let's see if I can, there we go. You don't have to do all kinds of resolutions of it, but just some kind of icon. And as I mentioned, we'll probably take a look at this next week, but this looks simpler than it is. Don't be too scared about logos. We just have a beige P in the background and then a green P on top of that. And then to kind of show the concept of a location, we have what looks like a location dot on a map. So a black circle and then a beige circle laid on top of that, which is about the same color as this beige back here, and then a black circle on top of that. So while this is a logo, so to speak, it's only about what? About 5 different layers put together, 2 letters, 3 circles put together to make it look like that. Not too bad. Not too bad. So there we go. One thing that's interesting is I noticed that the Play Store has changed a little bit. There used to be a feature graphic right up here. I noticed they're not using that anymore. So I wasn't aware of that, but that's gone away, and instead they've emphasized more the icon right here. So very interesting. In any case, there we go. So that's what we want to do. 3 big parts, and follow the app guidelines. Okay, and here we go. We want a description for the App Store. So like I have here, a description. On and on and on. We can read more and see more data, but this just tells you what you can do with the Plant Places mobile app, finding plants by color, finding native, edible, and recommended plants, so on and so forth. So we want to put together a description that describes what our app is doing. So App Store icon and App Store description. And then do all this, turn it into me, and fill out a self-grade sheet. So grade yourself, because this is what I'm going to be looking at when I'm grading your final project. I'm going to be looking at, did you list all the possible features? Did you list your audience? Did you create a filtered list of features? Do you have a definition statement? Okay, do you have your screens with titles on the storyboard? Do you have UI elements? Do you have navigation path? Do you have, misspelled that one. Okay. Have you used good human interaction? Did you design an icon? Did you put together an App Store description? This is what I'm looking for in your assignment. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is we're going to continue with the storyboard that I've created. And you'll see here that I've put a lot of the different UI components to use, buttons, checkboxes, a lot of things like that. The reason why I have saved the advanced search screen for us is that it will give us an opportunity to use a lot of different UI components. Okay, so I'm going to click on this advanced search button, and if you see up here, there's a little kind of chain. I highlight over that, and it says link. Again, with advanced search press, I'm going to click on link, and this is part of what I really like about this. It's very user friendly. I'm going to come over, and this goes off screen. This is off the screen for the recording, but there's a little dotted box that says new, and I'm dragging this arrow over to that dotted box to tell it I want to take this to a new screen. Okay, sorry, it froze up a little bit on me there, but there's a little dotted box here, and I'm saying I want this to go to a new screen, and maybe I can rearrange my other screens to make it look a bit more appealing. Okay, so here's the new screen, and we're going to navigate there from advanced search. So I'm going to click on this screen, it's going to highlight, and we see now I can drag widgets from the left over to the canvas I have on the right. So let's start with, say, a navigation bar. Okay, this is going to give us both a back button and a title. So for the title, maybe I'll put advanced search. Now you see that's too long for the space they've given me, so I grab the white square, draw it over here. Hopefully we can get most of it on this screen. Maybe draw it back a little bit over here. And there we go. And like so. Okay, advanced search. Now, because this is a navigation bar, it has this button which is a separate button. So I'm going to click, and we see here now I have a white box with dotted lines around this back button. I can also, if I move down a little bit, I can also create a link here. So I choose the link. I'll try it again. Oh, come on, where'd it go? Typically that will let me choose a link and bring it back. I'm having a bit of trouble with it at the moment. One moment. Okay, it was eventually, when I zoomed out, I was able to get that link to work. I'll see if I can do it again. I'll just draw it like that, and that gives us a two-way arrow. Let me see if I can try that again. So I clicked on back, clicked on the link here. Let's see, now once I go to this view, I think unfortunately when I have it minimized, I kind of have minimized it so that I could show it in this recording. And I think unfortunately with it in this size, I can't do that backlink. But trust me, when I paused the recording, I was able to do it. So if I hit play now, okay, we'll let this load, and we see I can click on advanced search, brings up this advanced search screen. Then I can click on back, and it takes me back to the main menu. So there we go. Okay, so what do we have on advanced search? Well, let's see. We have an advertisement at the top. Okay, here's one of these areas where I can be kind of critical of myself. Search for a plant. I could probably move that up to the title bar at this point. But in any case, we have name, sources, color, choose color. We'll skip bloom date because that takes up a lot of real estate. Category and features, and then down at the bottom, we have sort by, and we also have a button that the user can click to say I want to search. So we won't do absolutely everything on this screen, but we'll do several things. Okay, so, well, for the ad, we could just put up maybe a little notification or something like that. So let's see, I don't know if we want to use that. Let's see. I don't think, this is one thing, I don't think they actually have a I don't think they have a widget that is just for an ad, but it's easy enough to make one by just using text or something like that. So let's go ahead and grab a notification, and I will change this to just say advertisement. And I think we get the idea. Okay, now after that, we can put up some text, and so I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to grab there are three different kinds of text. There's like a medium, a small, and a large. I'll grab the medium text, drop it over on the left, and we'll say name. Okay. Although I know you can't see that, so I'll go ahead and move it. A little tricky dealing with the limited real estate that we have. Expand that out. There's our name. Okay, next, remember that text would be like a label where the user can't change things. Or on the other hand, for text that the user can change, I'm going to choose text box. So I'm going to choose text box, and I'm going to put that right next to name. Okay. And really, we don't need that text in there, so we can remove that. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then what did we have after that? After that, we have a button where the user can choose a color. Okay, so for that, I'll just come over and look for a button on the left. Okay, either of these will work. We'll go ahead and grab this one. Okay, now I'll line this up a bit. Maybe make it a little bit longer. And then we'll change the text to choose, well, let's see here. Choose color. Okay, and we'll expand this label so it matches. Now, the nice thing with the button and any other component here is I can make it navigate if I wish. Well, so that didn't turn out too well. Okay, I can make that navigate if I wish. I'm trying to center this text, which is a little bit tricky. But yeah, we get the idea. That's not too bad. Yeah, kind of a little bit off there. Okay, I could put a label there. So let me get a text. We'll get our medium text again. And we'll say maybe color. Okay. Boom. Now what's interesting is I already have that color search screen, so actually I could hyperlink this choose color to that color search screen. Let's see, if I choose this button and then the hyperlink. Oh, here we go. Now see, now that worked. And my color search screen is right over here. So if the user, in the real life app, if the user does hit this choose color button, it will render the pick a color screen. Of course, it'll take a second to jump over to that screen in the emulator that we have. But if you choose the choose color screen, it goes to the normal take a new photo or open an existing image screen where the user can choose a color. So I just clicked on open existing image. We'll give that a second. It will give us the Times Square ball. Take a look at this. The navigation is a little bit different though. Let's see, I think that's the Times Square ball. This is a smaller image. It'll take less time to open. So I'll go ahead and open this one. Okay, now it gives us all these different colors. Notice that previously when I would pick one of these colors, it would immediately give me a list of plants that match that color. Now if I choose one, what it actually does is it takes me back to the advanced search screen. And the choose color button now has a background of the color that I've chosen. So that's a kind of interesting navigation. Again, we're reusing some screens there. This is just like the color match search, but we're giving the user more options to choose from in this search. Okay, so here we go. So color, and then we had a spinner to represent the different categories of plants. So I'm going to come over here and see if I can find a drop down. I like this because they did a good job covering a lot of the, let's see, let me hit show here. I think that's the one I want. Yeah, they did a good job showing a lot of the different UI options here. So looking for a drop down, don't see one yet. I think where'd my controls go? Here we go. There we go, drop down. So I'm going to drag that, put it over on the screen. Okay. So category of plants, things like, is it evergreen? Is it a shrub? Is it a tree? Annual, perennial, things like that. That's what we mean by category. So drop down. Okay. I'll probably move this over to the right a bit. Honestly, you know what? I think I need to give myself, and again, this is where storyboarding is also nice because you can determine how much, it helps you kind of visualize how much you can fit on the screen. And I'm seeing now that I haven't given myself enough room for labels. And if you saw that little movement I just made there, it showed where when I selected this entire drop down, when I moved the drop down, it would kind of there we go. You see that dotted green line that shows I can line it flush left with the other components on this screen. So again, a good way to kind of, no, that's too much. A good way for us to kind of visualize how much we can easily fit onto a screen, line things up. Oh, it looks a lot nicer. Okay, let me add a text label for that drop down, and we're going to call that category. Okay, there we go. And category. Okay, and then we'll stretch that out, and like so. There we go. Okay, now next we need checkboxes. Can we have a plant that is native and edible and recommended? Yes, we certainly can. Can we have a plant that's native but not recommended? Yeah, we certainly can. So that's where we're going to want to have checkboxes. So I'll just drop a checkbox here, and then we'll do the text separately. Drop another one, maybe right about, no, I don't like the way that lined up. Let's try that one again. So we'll take this guy, and there we go. Lines up a little bit better. And next checkbox. I guess it kind of wants me to put them right on top of each other, which I guess, well, see, yeah, that one I don't like where that one went. Okay, that one looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's add some text. And since you've already seen me drag and drop text, I'm just going to keep focus now on this screen. Okay, so we'll say features. Notice we don't tend to use colons. Where in older forms it was common to have a label and a colon. That's kind of gone away lately. We don't tend to use colons as much. Okay, features, and then we'll say over here native. Okay. And then we'll drop another one. We'll say recommended. Oh, let's make this one edible. So that is kind of one of the more popular searches, native and edible. Okay, and then yet another one. I think I grabbed the wrong text there. Okay, we'll go back to medium. Okay, and now we'll say recommended. Okay, and there we go. Recommended. Just barely got it all. Okay, now we could do some. This is where it'd be kind of nice to do. Well, let's see. I could do a radio for sort by. This one's going to be a little tricky. Okay, so we could do a radio button for. We'll do it in smaller text this time. Sort by common name. Okay, and then we'll do text here for sort by Latin name. Sort by Latin name. That's not consistent, is it? I should say common name here as well. That could be a slider just as easily. There are a lot of different ways we could do that. Or we could have sort by as a title and then just have common name, Latin name. Okay, whoops, sorry. I'm going to click back. And then finally what we're going to want is a navigation button. So again, I'm going to go on the left. I'm going to find a navigation button. And we'll just title this with search. There we go. Almost. Okay. I'll go ahead and stretch that to be the width of the screen as well, because we kind of want to make it obvious that we want the user to hit search. Now, what I'm going to do when I click here is, again, we're kind of reusing some screens here, which is the big idea. If I go back and play now, remember what's going to happen when I do search by color. Okay, we click there. It's going to take us to this screen where we could choose a color. Okay. When we choose a color, it's going to take us to a list view, and then that's going to take us to the detail page. And that's exactly the same thing that would happen on this screen. Here, I'll go ahead and take away sources. That's exactly the same thing that would happen on this advanced search screen. We're simply providing it with more search terms. Okay, more than just color. Okay. So I'll stop playing, And what I'm going to do now on the search screen is I'm going to click on the search button and I'm going to click on the hyperlink and I'm going to tell it to go right here to search results. So we see now, let me see if I can move the screens around a bit. Maybe we'll move this guy up and this guy up and this guy. I really like the way that works. Okay, now you see with this storyboard, we can look at all of the different paths that will lead to a set of screens. And this pretty much is the real life plant places. There are a few more navigation paths that we're going to want to explore as well. Let me stretch out advanced search a bit. Okay, from GPS a plant, we have select a plant button. That's going to pull up our advanced search screen again. So I'm going to put in a hyperlink here, take that to advanced search. There we go. Okay, from this screen, which is our edit bloom dates and plants for sale, that also has a select a plant button. So I click on the hyperlink and we'll take that to advanced search. So we'll see that advanced search is one screen that's going to be accessed quite a bit in our app. And we can look at all the different navigation flows that go through our app. There are a couple more flows, but this covers most of them. One trick is if you go to GPS a plant, when you go to advanced search and you come up to the results screen, it won't actually take you to a web page. When you click a plant, it will take that plant all the way back to the GPS a plant screen. So the navigation from advanced search changes depending on how you reached it. Similarly, if you're entering a bloom date, it will take you to advanced search, then to results. But when you click on a result, if you came from bloom date, it won't go to the detail page. It will actually take the plant you selected all the way back to the bloom date page. So those I don't have really captured here. It might be easier to put that in a notation of some kind. But nonetheless, we really get a good idea of all the screens in our app, and now we know where we need to focus our time. We know that these screens are going to get accessed a lot. We know that advanced search screen is going to be involved in just about every path. So we want to put a lot of time into making that a very usable, user-friendly screen. And now we can play. And this is something we could demonstrate to a user. We could say, is this what you want? Is this what you want? You want to go to advanced search, fill out your information, click search, get a list of results, click on those results, and then you see the results in detail view. So user, is that what you want to do? And by the way, if you take a look down here, this is a block of text, just kind of generic text. That's one of the options they give us on FluidUI, the ability to put in kind of just generic text, because this is representing the Plant Places web page. We have kind of like a title bar up here. As a matter of fact, what I should do, what would be cool, can I type in there? What would be nice, it doesn't look like it's giving me text, but I can always fake it. Let's see if it'll let me fake it. What I would like to do is to demonstrate that we are on the plantplaces.com website, so I could take this little text box here maybe, pull them down a little bit. Okay, there we go. And say http://www.plantplaces.com. That way when we get to the screen, it's very obvious that we're kind of on a web view of that screen. Okay, then we can go to the user and say, okay, is this what you want? You choose GPS a plant, you hit select plant, and it's going to take you to advanced search. Then you hit search, and this is one flow we don't have completely worked out, because when we would click this, ideally we should go all the way back then to the GPS a plant screen. Okay, so we have all the different flows that we can take the user through and show them what's going to happen at those different flows. View your plant collection. I didn't do that one yet, but that's a pretty easy one to do. So in any case, that's a good way to kind of see our app, decide what our screens are going to look like. And this is really the next logical step after you do the list the features, determine who your audience is, and then filter the features through that audience. A next good logical step is to put together a storyboard very similar to this one and get a feel for how your app's going to look. So that's all I have for this recording. So next thing for you to do is to take a look at your assignment to create a storyboard and a design for your web application and app store layout and image, and look at assignment one. So, though, I will catch you next week. Thank you.